I'm Hannah.
And I'm Celine.
And here we are again with another technical difficulties episode.
Yeah, the We Are podcast. At this point, we
should
should just
change
name
our
it
name.
the technical difficulty.
Basically,
I don't know.
If you weren't aware, my computer got fried because we weren't.
Wait, has it still not turned on?
We haven't gotten it fixed yet because we took it to Best Buy and they're like, you have to take it to this other shop and they're only open on Monday. So
Great.
lovely.
Good.
So we can't, and Celine's school computer doesn't work because the microphone input.
I don't know. My school computer has some issues, which is gonna cause some issues. So yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fun.
And so basically we're kind of struggling, so we're just filming on our phones. So the audio on YouTube might be really bad. I think the audio on our phone is actually okay for some reason. So yeah.
Yeah, I have hair in my mouth.
Oh, lovely.
Sorry. But yeah.
Anyways, today's news updates, we have a couple really good ones. I feel like it was a little bit of a slower week, but there was a couple really good ones.
There were a couple great ones.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to start us off?
You go ahead.
Okay. Oh my gosh, okay. I'm going to start with kind of a huge one of the week, which is about Donald Trump.
Oh.
Donald Trump was a former president of the United States, and recently there was a search warrant executed at Trump's Mar-A-Lago house. So the FBI got a search warrant to enter his house, which is in Palm Beach, Florida. And they entered it to basically obtain evidence about whether the mishandling of documents by Trump amounted to a violation of 3 criminal statutes. And statutes are laws, basically. So the 3 laws relate to the Espionage Act, obstruction of justice, and criminal handling of government records. So the Espionage Act is it's basically banning getting information, recording pictures or copying descriptions of information related to the national defense with the intent that it will either aid a foreign nation or hurt the U.S. So that's what the Espionage Act is.
So it's basically treason against the country.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Because espionage is spying or using spies to obtain information. So it's kind of like that, except it doesn't need to be spying or anything. But anyways, so he's specifically being investigated under Section 793, which is gathering, transmitting, or losing defense information. And it specifically states that people legally granted access to national defense documents, like Trump, for example, are subject to punishment if they improperly retain that information. So if he doesn't legally get that information or follow processes to declassify it, and official documents like the ones found in the Mar-a-Lago estate need to go to NARA, which is the National Archives and Records Administration, and he didn't send them to NARA. He had them in his house, so that's not good. Yes, so let's talk about what they found. So the Justice Department removed 11 sets of classified documents. That's 4 sets of top secret documents, 3 sets of secret documents, and 3 sets of confidential documents. And in total, the FBI collected more than 20 boxes, as well as photos, classified government materials, and 1 handwritten note. And a conviction for violating any of these laws, the Espionage Act or the other 2 statutes that they're investigating whether he broke, has a maximum penalty of 10 years in federal prison, and the statute for obstruction has a maximum penalty of 20 years. So they're still doing investigations to decide if he did violate the Espionage Act, if he did violate the other 2 statutes, and worst case scenario would be he went to jail, and that might happen, we don't know. And best case scenario, he probably gets off scotch-free.
I really don't think he'll go to jail, just because of the influence he has in our society still, and just how big of a political person he is.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's possible, but we'll see.
I mean, I doubt he'll go to jail, because I feel there have been other things he's done where he should have been.
Yeah. I mean, but I think he's too powerful to go to jail.
So, we'll see, though.
Okay. So, let's go on to the next update. So, this is a very sad update, kind of. So, Serena Williams, who is like the biggest female sports tennis player ever, like probably like a household name for people that don't even like know what tennis is. So she's like a tennis athlete, and she has been one of like the biggest influences, not just in tennis but in sports history altogether. She's won 23 Grand Slams, which are like the biggest tennis tournaments that you can win. They're like basically like I would compare them to like the NFL.
Okay.
Like how how the Super Bowl is to Americans, a Grand Slam is like basically the equivalent to that in tennis. And there's like 4 different ones a year, which sounds like a lot, but they're for each different country because tennis is like a global sport. So it's like a very, very big title, and she won 23 of them. And so that means she's won the most Grand Slams behind like one person. She has literally been such a big influence, and also like helped a lot of women like who are women of color. Like she's helped them sort of realize that they can like be athletic and play sports, and she's fought a lot of like sexism and racism in her career, which is something that she like talks about a lot. How her like her gender and race play a lot into like how media treats her, and just how her career has like flowed throughout these past like decades. Even she's played for a very long time, but recently she did a interview with Vogue in which she basically alluded to the fact that she was going to retire, which is such a big deal because she's been playing for so long, and she's considered the greatest of all time female tennis player. She said, quote, "Maybe the best word to describe what I'm up to is evolution. I'm here to tell you that I'm evolving away from tennis towards other things that are important to me." So she basically saying that she's planning to retire soon. A lot of people are predicting after the U.S. Open, which is a Grand Slam for the U.S., you know, if she wins that, it would be like a big hurrah.
Right.
And also she said that the reason for this is because she like wants to do other things and she feels like it's her time. She mentioned like wanting to expand her family. So she's like 40 years old. She's almost 41. And so she kind of like, she only has one kid who's like really young, and she kind of, she alluded to the fact that she wants more. So that's like kind of like probably one of the reasons she wants to stop. And she also talked about how like pregnancy affected her so much. A fun fact is she like won a Grand Slam when she was 2 months pregnant.
Wow.
Which is
that's
like
pretty
really
impressive.
Yeah, it's impressive. So she talked a lot about her experience, and it was a really interesting interview. But she basically said that the countdown has begun. So good for her, and I think her legacy speaks for itself, honestly.
Yeah, agreed.
Right.
So my next update is also a pretty important one, if I can find it. And it's about Salman Rushdie, and he was stabbed. And let's talk a little about who he is first off. So he's a famous author, and he's 75 years old. He's written over a dozen books, including Midnight's Children, The Golden House, and a very controversial book called The Satanic Verses. So just as some background quickly on him, though, he was born in India and grew up in England, and he published The Satanic Verses 33 years ago, and over those 33 years, he's gotten so much backlash and death threats. Like, he's had to go in hiding, and basically the book was banned in several countries, and it's really controversial. So the Satanic Verses has 2 like main characters who are Indian Muslims living in England, and there's a lot of content in it kind of like questioning the Islam religion, or like mocking it in a way. A lot of people interpreted it as like mocking the religion, so a lot of people were mad about it, and many Muslims who are like followers of the Islam religion found it to be very offensive, and there were violent protests like around the world for the book, and other people connected to the novels were threatened too. Like, a Japanese scholar who translated the book was actually killed in 1991. Even though he just translated it.
Oh my
God.
God.
In 1989, Iran's leader called for Rushdie's assassination and put a bounty on him for his death.
What?
Yeah, of several $1 million.
I can't believe I've never heard of him before. Like,
I didn't know he existed until
he
got
stabbed.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've never like read his books or anything. Now I'm really curious though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically he was extremely hated. And he was giving a lecture in New York on Friday, and he was talking at the Chautauqua Institution about his experience of being like an exiled writer. And he was seated and being introduced when his attacker rushed on stage and just started assaulting him. He was stabbed in the neck and abdomen and stabbed and punched 10 to 15 times. And then, like, the attacker was subdued and he was sent to the hospital. But yeah, his agent, Andrew Wiley, said the writer was on a ventilator Friday evening with a damaged liver, severed nerves in his arm, and an eye he was likely to lose.
God.
Which is terrible, yeah. But actually recently, he was taken off his ventilator and is starting to recover, so it looks like he'll be okay, but still, like, that's not good at all.
Yeah.
And the attacker was identified as Heyyyyy Matar, 24 years old, from New Jersey, and he was arrested at the scene and awaiting arraignment, which is like sentencing. And he was born a decade after the Satanic Verses was published, and the motive for the attack was unclear, but it probably has something to do with the fact that he's a very controversial author. That's a good bet. But anyways, the attacker pleaded not guilty, which is like, dude,
that doesn't even make sense.
How are you gonna
like,
get
you
away
went
with
up
that?
in a stage in front of us, so many people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay.
To charges of second-degree attempted murder and second-degree assault with intent to cause physical injury with a deadly weapon, he just pleaded not guilty.
How is that second degree? It should be first degree.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
well,
Go
yeah, I
ahead.
don't know. Good point. But he faces up to 32 years if convicted of both charges. So yeah, basically, that's a crazy situation.
I did not know the full story about that. I heard it everywhere, but that's like really weird that happened.
Just like that, he wrote a book and he got that much. The thing I was most like shocked about was that the like leader of Iran like put like a bounty on his head to kill him.
Yeah, I'm not
Like,
surprised though because
but I just
Yeah.
feel like I don't get it. Like I'm not like but like
yeah.
I guess it makes sense.
because like there's like the Middle Eastern countries, a lot of them have very radical Islamic beliefs, so I could see how they could be very
like offended by it and see it as like treason to their religion.
Do you know what religion he was?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I think he actually grew. I think his parents might have been Muslim, but he had to have known a lot about the Muslim religion to like base a book.
Oh,
He's an
okay.
atheist.
So he came.
Oh, but
from
he
a
grew
Muslim.
up in a Muslim family. Okay.
And now he's an atheist.
Now he's an atheist.
Okay, that makes sense. Though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you move apart from a religion, then you probably have a lot to say.
So yeah, basically he was kind of like exposing what he felt were potential flaws in the religion, I guess, and a lot of people didn't like that and saw it as like disrespectful and offensive. So
okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next update we have is about Russia and Ukraine, which it's not doing too well.
Oh no.
I thought that, and like a couple months ago, we did an update where it was like things are looking up, like yay.
I feel like that happens a lot. It's kind of like things are looking better, and then like 2 weeks later, it's like there's an attack, and
But basically, Russia and Ukraine isn't looking too great right now. I know for the past couple weeks we haven't done like a full-on Russian-Ukraine one. We've just done like Brittany Griner and stuff like that. But basically, the biggest advancement I would say that's been going on is about this nuclear plant called Zaporizhzhia.
Wait, what?
Zaporizhzhia.
I'm not gonna attempt that.
Hold on.
I can't.
I'm really good at
My pronunciation is gonna be worse than you.
Zaporizhzhia. I think that's right. Zaporizhzhia.
I don't know.
I was practicing this yesterday and I don't know anymore. Anyways,
Yeah.
but basically, this is a really weird sort of situation because it is like the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, and it is in a very strategic and very important location in the southern Ukrainian city of Nikopol. But it is currently being ran by Ukrainian technicians, but it's under Russian occupation, which is confusing to me. Because if it's under Russian occupation, you would think that like they wouldn't allow the Ukrainian technicians to run it. But it's basically what happened is that it's still being run the way that it used to be. It's just now that Russians have control over it.
Okay.
Basically, which is very scary considering that like they have occupation over a nuclear plant in the middle of a strategic location in Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
that's not good considering the fact that they're trying to take over Ukraine.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely scary, but recently President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, said that he would and the Ukrainian government would make any person who shot out of that like nuclear plant, any Russian soldier who used it as cover or used it to shoot, would be a special target, meaning that they would target people specifically who are using the plant as Russian like soldier bases almost, or like as shooting places, or as nuclear blackmail. So he basically said that like they're gonna like basically try as best they can to sort of prevent that plant from being misused in some way, but I mean I guess like I'm not really sure what to say. Like, that's just a bad, crappy situation.
Yeah.
Hopefully the threat kind of works, but honestly, Russia has not been known to back down, and they're definitely not backing down at the moment. So it's, like, really scary just to see that, and, like, you don't know what they're gonna do. Obviously, they're so unpredictable, as we've seen in the past, like, year, that, like, we don't know what's gonna happen with this at all. Hopefully that, hopefully that they're able to do something, but I genuinely don't know. But a lot of other countries in the G7 specifically, and in case you weren't wondering, the G7 is like a group of countries, like wealthier countries, that meet together and like have summits and like just talk about world issues. And a lot of those countries are just like more developed countries. I think the U.S. is in it, and a couple of like other foreign ministers are in it. But they basically have a lot of pushback against Russia occupying this plant, as well as the UN. In fact, a lot of the people, including the UN, said that like this military activities in front of the nuclear plant endanger nuclear security. Even one of the UN secretaries said that it could lead to disaster if Russia keeps continuing it. Russia has constantly denied doing anything wrong with the plant or at the plant, but, you know, everyone's pretty skeptical of what's happening. In other Russia and Ukraine news, 2 Russian missiles hit Kharkiv overnight on Saturday, and they're basically still shelling, bombing, you know, doing whatever they can to take control of Ukraine. The end is not really near. No one knows when it's going to end. It is scary for so many people in Ukraine. I feel like our media's kind of forgot about the war now.
Right.
Like, it's so sad.
Because if something huge didn't happen, we kind of stop, like, caring or, like, even, like, thinking about what's going on there, even though, like, it's still happening, it hasn't ended yet, and even when it does end, there's still going to be a lot of damage done, and
And it's sad to see that, like, media is like that. It's just so common that like when the headlines are hot, it has attention. It has so much attention. But the second it gets old, in like a week or two, it's gone and no one cares about it again.
Yeah.
So this is just us reminding you to like keep caring about the situation. It's not getting any better. There's still so many people, innocent civilians, who are dying, and it's just super sad. But we'll always link the donation spots in the bio. Please help out and spread awareness.
Yeah.
And keep Ukraine in your thoughts.
Yes,
Okay.
I agree. So that'll be it for the first half.
Yes.
But stay tuned for the second half. We have some more very important updates. And
Bye. Alright, bye. Hi everyone, I'm Ahana.
And I'm Celine.
Welcome back to this episode. I don't know why we did the intro.
I don't know.
Okay, so I'm gonna start it off.
Okay.
Because we have 2 more updates after this one. And let's talk about airplane stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so this is like a cool update that my mom told me about, and it was basically, it's kind of just fun. It doesn't really have any relevance, but
Okay.
it's fun. I guess it does have relevance. No, it does have relevance. I'm gonna connect it to be relevant. Okay. So as we know,
stop explaining yourself and just talk about it.
The global warming is like really bad at the moment. It's probably the worst we've ever seen it, obviously, because it can't get better at the rate we're going. emissions are at an all-time high. We are just basically killing our planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very sad to see how high everything's heating up. Like, we live in a place that used to be very cold, and now it's, like, burning every day. So, that's cute. And then, a fun fact is that the Arctic is eating up 4 times as fast as the rest of the planet, which is devastating because the Arctic is a place where it's coldest and where all the, like, you know, polar bears and stuff live. So it's like just really sad to see that their environment's just being destroyed because of us. And this update kind of has to do with all of this. So the soaring temperatures across the world are prompting places everywhere to have melting glaciers. And one of these places is Switzerland. So melting glaciers are basically just chunks of ice in the ocean, basically. And they're melting really rapidly now because of the heat. So in Switzerland, 2 hikers were like hiking upon like the parts of Switzerland when they came across a glacier where they found human bones.
Wow.
So these were 2 French alpinists that found human bones while scaling the Chestion Glacier in the southern canton of Valais, a police spokesperson said on Monday. So the skeleton was obtained from the glacier by a helicopter. The bones were discovered near like a path on the glacier, and they only found their discovery because they were like using an old map that I think they like went in the wrong way and they like accidentally stumbled across this. So it was really just weird for them to come across that. But they were able to like discover that the person died sometimes around the 70s or 80s. And a week earlier, another body had been found on another glacier, which is in Switzerland. So it was kind of like, oh my god, there's like a lot of bodies of glaciers. But police in the Alpine region maintain a list of about 300 people who have gone missing since 1925. And they believe that like these 3 people that were found in the past couple of weeks might have been linked to these missing people. So one of the hikers that discovered the body told the newspaper that the clothes they found were like neon colored. So that's like maybe it was in the 80s versus the 70s.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, because neon was in fashion. And the corpse is kind of mummified and slightly damaged, but also but mostly complete. And also in the first week of August, another, like, guy discovered a wreckage of a plane that crashed over the glacier. So there's just, like, a lot of glacier, like, mysteries. And it kind of just goes to show that, like, not only is global warming, like, really bad and, like, melting all the glaciers, but it's also, like, leading to, like, show us some stuff that like we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Which is like, it just goes to show that like so much of the world is unknown, and it's just really weird to think about that there could just be like people and glaciers that we never knew about.
Yeah, it's
there
interesting.
There could be like plane crashes that we didn't know about and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
It's interesting that we discovered that. So, yeah. All right, are you ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay, so this will be my last update, and it's this is pretty sad. I mean, it's good because dogs were saved, but it's sad they had to be saved in the first place. So 4,000 beagles were actually rescued and are looking for new homes after being held by a Virginia facility. And this facility was breeding them to be sold to laboratories like for drug experiments. And this is one of the largest canine rescue efforts in U.S. history, so it's a huge deal. And animal rescue organizations started to like take the beagles away from the facility, and shelters from like around the country, like Illinois, Pittsburgh, have begun receiving the dogs, and then they'll have to get like medical exams, vaccinations, and other treatments, and then they'll be able to be adopted by people, so they'll be available for adoption. And the dogs arriving at the shelters actually got there a month after they were rescued from the facility, which took place in July. And they were rescued due to a court order. And the facility was called the Envigo Breeding and Research Facility, and it was in Cumberland. And the dogs there, like, they were being sold for research, like pharmaceutical and biotech research. It was really terrible. And the company stated that, like, animal welfare was one of their highest priorities, which clearly was not true. Federal inspections showed that like many of the dogs lived in terrible conditions. Like, for example, some of them were malnourished, sick, or injured. Some of them were kept in cages and had to poop in there. And more than 300 puppies actually died at the facility between January and July of last year, which is devastating. And they would perform like all these experiments on them that were painful without sedatives, and it was like truly awful. But I'm so happy that some of them were able to be rescued and will find new homes. Like the past weekend, there was like a Suds and Netflix thing that was hosted for the dogs, and it was like they received their first bath ever and like watched a movie, and it was really cute. But on the topic of this, animal abuse is really terrible, and I want to talk about kind of like what you can do. And one of the biggest things is like donating to animal shelters like these, like the shelter that was able to like help these animals and take them in. The more money they have, the more resources they can help all those animals out there. And then also adopting pets from shelters and like rescue dogs, giving them a home is awesome, and fostering them too. Posting about it, spreading awareness, telling your friends, telling your family. And, you know, if you see anyone mistreating an animal, calling a hotline or the Humane Society, and just making sure that, you know, the situation.
Yeah, I think it's really important to do that, and it's, like, I can't believe that that's legal. It makes me mad.
I mean, it's not really legal.
No, but, like, it's, like, the government's not strict enough to the point where it's, like, it basically is, you know?
Yeah, because they were kept there for a while. I mean, obviously they were rescued
and it was publicly known. Like, we've seen so many posts on social media about it. And it's just sad to see how slow people are to get there. And the, like, occurrence of puppy mills, which are basically similar conditions, like, those still happen. And I think there's some legislation that needs to change, because obviously it is illegal for, like, that level of animal, like, abuse to happen.
Right.
But in a sense, it's just not doing enough to the point where it's, like, it is legal, because it's still happening. So it's definitely not being acted upon enough. And, you know, I think everyone has a soft spot for animals, and it's just devastating.
Yeah.
And, like, I can't believe that people have the nerve to do that. Like, how could you be a human who has a life and do that to another life? Like,
I know, like,
it's beyond
it's terrible. Like, it's one thing if it happens to other humans, which obviously is terrible, but I just feel like dogs are, like,
there's, like, they didn't do anything to you. Like,
they don't even, like, there's zero motive you could have had. Like, motive is not.
The only motive is profit.
Is
like, money.
Yeah.
Hungry.
But it's terrible. Yeah.
With that being said, we'll end it off on a little bit of a better, lighthearted note. School's starting. Our school starts Tuesday.
Ahana has to go in tomorrow for freshman day.
But tomorrow from when we post this episode.
But yeah. So as in technically today, but you know what I'm talking about.
So in a lot of schools, like freshmen have school the day before the rest of the school, and so I have to go help out with that because I'm a part of student council. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to that. I have to wake up at 6 a.m., which is lovely, but
I'm gonna wake up at 7 during the school year. I don't care what happens.
Yeah. I normally don't wake up
early. I feel like I can get ready. Like, all I have to do is brush my teeth and get dressed, because I make my lunch the night before. So, like, and I shower the night before. So, like, how long does that take? Like, 10 minutes, probably.
Yeah, I've been getting ready and, like, stuff, and
I don't understand how some people wake up at, like, 6 or, like, 5:30.
Yeah, I mean, like, you do what you want to do.
Yeah, if you're a morning person, then sure. I just don't get it, personally.
Yeah, because I'm not a morning person.
Yeah, I'm like, how do you survive life?
Yeah, that's definitely not me, but, like, I honestly respect it. If you can do that, good for you.
Yeah, no, great. You probably are getting stuff done and, like, getting on the right foot for your day because you're not rushing and, like, freaking out and not eating I don't eat breakfast during the school year, which is probably bad, too.
That's definitely not good for you. My goal for this year is to meal prep, and I started doing that today so I can, like, have my lunches ready and eat breakfast, because breakfast is good for you.
Yeah, I like the idea of, like, meal prepping, but I never follow through. I just, like, do.
I know I'm not going to end up doing it in, like, a month, but
I like doing the fancy things, like, looking at ideas on, like, Pinterest and, like, having all the little things and, like, making, like, waffles and doing all this stuff, and it's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen, but you can dream.
Yeah. Anyways, that's basically just our scoop on school, but because school's starting, it's, like, a lot of emotion surrounding school. Like, a lot of people hate it. There's a lot of bullying that goes on, but at the same time, a lot of people love it because they're able to get away from, like, home situations that might not be the best. And it's also just, like, for other people, can just be, like, a place where they get to meet their friends and just have fun in clubs and all sorts of things like that. So I definitely think school can be both a good and bad thing in a lot of ways. But just a couple of tips just to as the school year start is to prepare ahead of time for things. I know everyone's a procrastinator, especially in high school, but just making sure that you like have everything up to date and like keeping a planner even can be so helpful. Learning coping techniques for the start of the school year where you basically just like help yourself get through anxiety and just nervous breakdowns can be so helpful. And we're actually doing an episode about all of this on Friday, and it will come out on Friday, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
For more details. Staying connected with social connections can help you so much because, you know, a lot of people think school is just academic, but if you don't have a social, like, sort of, you know, connection with other people, then it can really take a toll on you. And so it's important to stay connected with not only the kids but also the staff and just things that are going on. And the last little tip we have for you before we go is to keep the conversation going. So that means basically like when school ends at whatever time, school doesn't actually end. All the problems inside school, all the things that are going on inside school still continue outside of that. So if you see someone struggling or not doing good in school when you're in school, when you're out of school, maybe try helping them.
Yeah.
And like, you know, get them help, do anything for them, you know, talk about things that you feel like are important, that you need to, you know, educate others about, and just, you know, keep everyone aware and just,
Yeah. I agree. And I think, I mean, definitely, like, having connections to people and also, like, trying to be organized, and we'll make an episode about all of this, too. So, yeah, that's pretty much all like that. But
Alright.
happy school year.
Yeah, our good news is that we're starting school, and it's also our bad news.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really coming to terms with it. Every school year, it just feels like I'm gonna be going in for like a week and then it's summer again. Like, I feel like I just can't imagine going for like a whole other year, which is a lot. But, you know, we'll see.
We're living in the moment, I guess.
You know what? Live in the present. What do you always say? Live in the present, because it's called the present, because it's a gift.
No,
or
it's
what?
like the present
is a gift.
No. Wait, hold on. My dad always says this, and I always say it because my dad says it. Anyways, it's like, it's called the present. No. Be grateful for now because
because the present is a gift.
It's called the present because it's a gift. I think it's just that. I don't really know. But anyways, live in the moment.
That was unnecessarily confusing.
Stay tuned. Follow us at weare_youth.org and our website weare-youth.org. Follow the podcast and share anything that you want to hear.
Yeah. All right. Bye.